Everyone, welcome back to the Selenium tutorial day 13, and in the previous tutorial we learned about how to work with handling multiple windows. So in this day 13 tutorial we will be learning how to deal with the different actions on your web page. Now okay, so for example, we already learned few operations like click, selecting value and something. So okay, so I'm going to say let's launch Eclipse, and today we will do some practice on the actions. Okay, let me talk about actions. So actions means the user operations that we do on the web element. One action which we commonly do is click. Another action that we already have learned is type. Okay, for that we use send keys method, and there are few more actions that we will be doing. Okay, so for example, sending a keys, that means like pressing a tab, hitting enter, and those keys as well. But in WebDriver we have a specifically actions class, okay, that helps in performing keyboard and mouse operations. Okay, so we will be learning the actions class now. So let me create a new project with today's date. It's going to be a Maven project because we use always Maven. I'm saying simple project. The group ID is com.because.training. Artifact ID I will give as day 13. Actions API. Actions is also known as API. Action APIs. So I will give action API name to the project. Again, this project will require that dependencies, right? So better I can copy it from my previous project. So in our initial tutorial that I already explained how to get this dependencies tag, but once you have it, you can just use it for the next project. But make sure you are using the latest versions of the different tools. So in my case, I'm using 3.8.1 for Selenium Java, and the TestNG version I'm using is 6.9.10. You may want to change these versions based on your requirement. But as 3.8.1 is working fine, I will go ahead with that version only. In Css Java, okay, I don't need this frames handling, handling window project, so I'm just closing it. Don't keep unnecessarily project open if you're not using it. That hampers your Eclipse performance. So I will create a Css Java new class. The class name I will give is let's say I wanted to perform a double click. Let's take example, double click example. So ex1 double click, that's class name, right? So I have created the class to demonstrate how to perform a double click using Selenium WebDriver. So there, what I will do is, the very first thing is I need a test case. So I'm going to write @test, and this annotation has to come from TestNG. So let's say @test control space, it will show you option, and from that option use the first one, org.testng.annotations. As soon as you hit enter, automatically that class, it's actually interface internally, that interface has to be imported. So I'm saying @test, and the method name is public void test double do double click. Okay, test double click. But to test a double click operation, we should have some application which is supporting the double click action. So let me know if you have any application which is having double click functionality, or else I can just Google it. So this is a sample application. Let's take a sample application. If you open this application, there is a rectangle box, and double click on the block. If you double click on the block, it just changes the color. It just changes the color from yellow to blue and blue to yellow. So let's take this is the simple example for automation. Very first thing you need to write is system dot out. Oh, I'm sorry, system dot set property WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver, and then we said path, right? So that my driver path is present on eDrive driver slash Chromedriver.exe. Okay, next thing is WebDriver. We need to create object of Chromedriver. WebDriver, it is an interface which is implemented by remote WebDriver, and remote WebDriver is a parent class of Chromedriver. So in short, you can say that Chromedriver implements WebDriver. Okay, so as Chromedriver implements WebDriver, you can write driver equal to new Chromedriver. This driver is pointing to the Chromedriver object. Now it is time to open a URL, so I will say driver dot get, pass the URL to open. I will copy that URL, pasting it here. Okay, so driver dot get and the URL, it will open that URL in my browser. Next thing is inspect the element. Okay, so let's right click and inspect. Okay, so this is a div which has class is equal to dbl. The parent is body, head and HTML. Do you see that HTML head and body? Now why is this happening? Because this this HTML is present inside a iframe. Okay, so if you want to work inside this frame, inside this rectangular box, then you will need to first switch to that frame. Okay, I wanted to check the nesting level of the iframe, so I will just go up to all the parents of this and check if there is one more iframe tag. I don't see any iframe tag in its parent, so assuming there is only one iframe tag, let me check how many iframe tags are there. So there is only one iframe tag present on my web page. So what you can do is, I will say first, guys, there are three ways to switch iframe. We have already learned this topic. If you want to brush up, please go back to the previous tutorial of the iframe handling. So there are different three ways to switch a frame. One is by using name or ID. Second way is using the index number, and the third way using the web element. So locate the iframe web element, okay, and just switch to that web element. So I'm saying driver.find element by the name. See, there is no name, there is no ID, so I will use tag name because there is only one tag with iframe. Okay, there is only one iframe tag present, so I will use that locator. Now say driver dot switch to dot frame and then pass on the frame element. frame element. So I will switch to that frame element. Once switching is done, okay, I have to work on this rectangular box. So let's inspect it. So this is a div class is having dbl. Okay, let me check if this class is unique. So I'm going to say dot dbl, dot dbl. Just ignore that dbl click, because it is not a tag, right? Let's say if you want to say that span with a class dbl, or it is div, is it? Yes, it is div with dbl. So I see that there is a one div which has a class dbl. All right, I will hit enter. There is another div which also has a class dbl. So looks like there are two matches. Oh, sorry, not two matches. The second match is with a CSS selector. So you can ignore that, right? So that means there is only one div tag present with class as dbl. All right. So there is only one class. There is only one tag, div tag with class name as dbl, right? This is CSS selector. I am interested into this one. So this is the right element which is getting selected. So on this element, let's locate that element first. So vamp element equal to driver dot find element by dot CSS selector. Okay, the CSS selector I'm going to give is div tag having class, because class starts with dot dbl. So with the help of this line, I should be able to get ELEM object, and once I get ELEM object, I can actually go ahead to the next code. So can you see, guys, that element dot click, double click, or some method is there which can actually help me to perform a double click operation. So on that element, you can simply see that click method is there. Okay, there is no double click method directly on that element. If you want to perform a double click, you need to take help of actions class. So actions, it is a class that is coming from org.openqr.selenium interactions. So let me create object of actions class. Okay, I'm saying actions is equal to new actions. There you have to pass the object of driver. Okay, so I created object of actions. I'm calling a parameterized constructor in creating object. The parameterized constructor name is actions, and which is taking a driver parameter. Actually, there are multiple constructors. You can take keyboard object, you can take WebDriver object, you can take keyboard and mouse object. But in my case, I will use the second constructor. This is constructor overloading, if you remember from the object-oriented programming topic. So in my case, I will use driver object. Now actions dot, you can see that double click method is there. Okay, so if I simply call double click, that is going to perform double click on the default element which is already selected. Okay, if you simply say actions dot double click, but there is another overloaded method, double click, with a overloaded method means different parameter, right? Same method name, different parameter. So this is the overloaded method, same method name and the different parameter. It is taking a web element parameter. If you don't pass web element, it will perform double click on the default element which is currently selected on your page. If you pass web element, then the double click operation will be performed on that specific web element. I want this method, right? I want to perform double click on this element. Okay, so this is it. I said actions.double click. But guys, let me tell you one thing. Just by simply calling actions.double click will not actually perform that operation on your web page. So what you have to say is, you have to say again actions.perform. the action will be actually performed when you call this perform method. Okay, so if you simply say actions.doubleClick, it will not perform the double click operation on your web page. The double click operation will be only performed when you actually call the perform method. Okay, so this is just a 3 line of code. If you see, double click also returns object of actions. So instead of writing this 3 line, what you can do is you can simply say that shortcut way, so actions dot double click to this element and then dot perform. This is also valid. Okay, so this is just a 2 line syntax to avoid unnecessarily multiple line. Alright, so I hope it is clear that how to perform a double click. But how I will get to know that the double click has been done or not? So what I will do is, let us see the default value. If you open that web page, the default value is green. Sorry, it is blue. Sorry, it is blue. Let's read this. Let's learn how to read this blue value. So let's inspect that element. Oops, what I did. Reload it again. Okay, let's inspect that element. Now this is the div tag. Okay, it is not having DBL class. Okay, let me double click. Okay, after double click you get the div class, DBL class, right? If you load that web page, that means by default it is not having any class. It is just a div. It is not having any div, any class. So how to locate this div? Because I was thinking to use div.dbl as the CSS locator, but if you open this web page for the first time, that div do not have any kind of class name. So how to locate that element? What I will do is I will take help of body immediately div. So I'm saying body tag which is immediate div. A div tag which is immediate child of body. So this way it is giving me multiple elements, but most of these elements are actually from the main page. Let's see in this frame. You see this frame, right? In this frame there is only one body and which has immediate child, only one immediate child as a div. So there is only one div as an immediate child to the body. So only one div will be selected. You can see that HTML, right? See, there is a body. It has 3 child, 1, 2, 3, but there is only one div. So if I say CSS selector body greater than div, this will be unique inside that frame. Okay, so I will just change that CSS selector. I will say body greater than div, and on this div to the right hand side you can see that style tab which has background as a color blue. If I double click it, you see background as yellow. If I double click it, you see background as blue. See, so it is changing, right, as soon as you double click it. So now I want to write a test case which will actually read this thing, which will actually read the background value. Okay, so it is very easy to do that. How to read a background color of web element? It's very easy. So I'm saying system.out.println, or you can just say that string color is equal to driver dot find element by, oh I'm sorry, I already have that element, so no need to find it again. I have that element already. See, this is elem dot get CSS value. So on that element there is a method get CSS value. So get CSS value, there you have to specify the CSS property name. So in my case, background is the property name, and that value, value of background property will be returned as a color. So I'm going to just simply print before double click This is the color. Okay, then I will perform double click, and after performing double click, again do the same thing. Again find the element, because again find, I'm saying again find because the element has changed. So again find the element. Okay, get the element. uh, don't declare it again, it will give you redeclaration error. Get the background color and just print that before double click, not before, this is after. Alright, so these are the 3 lines which I'm actually using. Find the element, get the color and print the color. Then create object of actions. I said passing the driver actions dot double click on this element, and then I'm calling perform. As soon as you call perform, the action actually performed. Then element equal to driver dot find element by dot css selector body greater than div. Again I'm finding an element. Again I'm reading the get css value as background and then printing the value after the double click. Okay, so let me run this code and see how it performs. Initially, if you launch that website, the default color will be blue. After double clicking, it should turn to yellow. Okay, can you see that yellow color here? Now go back to the test case. There is no any error, but let's try to understand this. Before double click, the color was RGB. Now in case of calling get CSS value, it will return you the RGB string. Okay, it will return you the RGB string with some details. So about the transparency, then do you want to repeat, scroll, and some more details about it. If you want only color, so I will say background color is the CSS attribute. Background hyphen color, this is the CSS attribute which actually gives you the color, not all the detail. Right now I'm getting so many detail, right? These are some extra detail. For that background, is there a padding, is there border, how's the margin, and more detail actually, which I'm not interested. I simply want the background color. So say background hyphen color. So background hyphen color will only return you the color, and the color will be actually a RGB string. So this is RGB string. So RGB, it means this is 0 is red, G means green, that is 0, and B stands for blue, and that is 255. So if you say 0 0 and 255, that means this is a blue color. 0 red, 0 green, and full blue, that means this is blue color. But after clicking on it, I see that red is 255, that is full red, full green, and 0 blue. That means red plus green, actually the resulting color is yellow. So it shows me yellow color. So and this is a color code for yellow. If you want to visualize this color code, there are some online utilities available. There are some online utilities available which you can use. Let me tell you one. Okay, I can actually use a color code here, but this is just a single code it is asking for. I will use some other website. Okay, actually I should have a provision to enter RG and B value. Is it editable? No, it is not. It is not editable, so I will check some other website. Hey, thanks Vijit for sharing this link. So yeah, there is an example. Let's say I'm making red as 0, green as 0, blue as 0. The resulting color is black. If you change that blue as 255, which is the maximum number, it is blue. But if you make blue 0 and full red and full green, that is 255 for red and 255 for green, the resulting color is yellow, as you can see that. So the value which you will get is RGB 00255, RGB 255 These are the colors. You can have assertions on these RGB values if you want to. Okay. Let's say you want to compare is it blue or not. So you can have assert equal on this value. Let me add that also. Instead of printing, you can have assertion. Assert equals, the actual value is COLOR and the expected value is RGB, okay, 0 comma space 0 comma 255. That's the expected value. Okay, so here also I will do the same, but the expected values are different. 255 and 0 is my expected value. Okay, let me run this test case and see the outcome, whether it is getting passed or failed. So we have learned one more thing, that is how to read the CSS value. It's very easy. Find the element and on the element call a method get CSS value and just pass the name of CSS property. But to get more details information about a CSS, you should know the property name. Looks like there is something wrong in the script. Oh, okay. So when you say background hyphen color, it also includes that one more extra parameter, that is comma 1. That last one value, it means opaque, that how much transparent you want, this color, how much transparent you want, that way. So it is RGB and I think it is S. So that last number is opaque. Alright, so this is full opaque, that means no transparent, and the same is with this. Okay, I will run the test case again to see whether it is getting passed or not. So if you only say background, get CSS value background, it will give you so much information. But I was only taking the color, so I have changed background hyphen color as my CSS property name, so that I should be able to only get the RGB value. Okay, come back here and see. Looks like there is still failure. Now what is this? Oh, it is RGBA. I'm sorry, that's my mistake. RGBA. It is not simply RGB. A is for transparency, as I said. A is for opaque. Now this time I'm expecting the test case to pass. With the help of Selenium, you can have some color checks also, but guys, always remember, Selenium is not GUI testing tool. It is functional automation tool, So as you can see, the yellow color is there. That means double click happened. And coming back here, the test case got passed. There is no failure message. And that means all, both these expected values was matched with the actual value. This was my expected value. I have not written the failure message, but it is always good if to have a failure message to all the assertions. So I'm saying blue not found before click, and here I will add a message, yellow color not found after click. So this is the failure message. If my test case is getting failed, it should fail with some message. So this is a proper message. I hope it is clear to you guys that how to perform a double click with the Actions API. Let me know if you have any questions. From Actions API, today we learn how to perform double click, as well as we also learn one more extra thing, that is how to read the CSS values of some particular HTML element. So in the next session we will learn more details about the Actions API. For example, actions, you can actually do many stuff. For example, clicking on some web element, click and hold your mouse, hold your mouse on some web element. Context click, it is right click, we will cover that also. Context click on some web element, double click on the default element, double click on the element that we have covered today. You see this method, double click on the element. You can also do drag and drop, key down, key up. These are the events you can call for keyboard keys. There is also a release button. Release, it means leaving, leaving the key. That is more specifically with the mouse. Move to element, this is also very helpful method. Move to element simulates the mouse over on some element. Okay, this simulates mouse over action. There is a pause. This is used for waiting purpose. Let's say move to element, pause for some time, and then double click, so we use pause. Release, perform we already learned. Until and unless you're not calling perform, that whatever operation, whatever method you are calling will not be performed. There is a tick also. Release, okay, we already covered that. And so these are few methods which are there in the actions class. So we will learn some of those, which are most commonly used in the next upcoming session. For today, that's all for today, and thank you very much for attending this session.